After I had children, I realized, like, what good mother would birth you and then abandon you and say, I'll just leave it up to your dad. Like, I'll just let him take care of it because I'm much too sacred to be involved in your life.
The whole purpose of relationship is this beautiful synergistic dance between the masculine and feminine that creates this container where both can rise.
There's a lot of internal shame that is created when you are taught that you are responsible for another man's thoughts and thereby his actions.
Free to be me, free to sing, sweet feathers envelop me like a hug.
The Safe to Be Seen podcast is intended for educational and entertainment purposes only. Darcy and Brandon Burke do not claim to be experts. We have no intention to defend our beliefs or impose them onto others. This podcast provides a space to allow for us to share with others what it's like to be us. We desire to share our human journey with others. We advise you to seek professional counsel, therapy, and/or treatment from trained, credentialed, and certified professionals for any emotional, mental, and/or physical conditions you may be experiencing. Hey, Darcy. So, if you can go back in your memory to little Darcy, at whatever age, at some point in your childhood, or even in your teenage years, how would you say you viewed or what were your beliefs around the feminine and the masculine?
Well, much of my beliefs about the feminine and masculine were shaped by religion and the culture that I grew up in. We spoke to this in the last episode where you talked about the masculine and the effects that patriarchy had on both of us in our view of the feminine and the masculine and those energies. And I didn't even use language like feminine or masculine energies when I was growing up. I didn't even know that was a thing. So my language surrounding like the feminine divine was language like Heavenly Mother. And it's interesting because as I've been like reflecting back on that time and what shaped my beliefs and my connection to the feminine and the feminine divine and my feminine essence, is that for the longest time, I didn't even know that the language at that time that I used, I didn't even know that a Heavenly Mother existed. I can't remember what age I was when I heard or I read or how it even came about that I was like, oh, there's a Heavenly Mother. And even then, in Mormonism, it was like when they started speaking about her, the language was, but you don't pray to her. She's very sacred. There isn't really much the Lord hasn't revealed very much about her. And so it was almost as if there was like this secret about her that I couldn't know about, but that I really needed that connection to a feminine divine. It's almost like in the Bible when monotheistic religions came into play and it was termed that there's just that God is male and all language in the Bible is referring to the male when it comes to deity and when it comes to God. It's like they stripped away any feminine language or feminine deity and then said, be like a male God. And so it was kind of confusing for me, and it especially became incredibly disheartening to me when I became a mother and when I went through that creation process within myself of holding and caring and growing a human inside of me and then birthing a child. It was in those moments where I felt such a deep connection to a feminine divine, one that I hadn't really known much about, but realized she is the creation.
Yeah.
She is the mother of creation. And so it was almost like growing up, like I had this, it was like my spiritual mirror was absent. I knew it was there. I knew it was sacred, but I couldn't have access to it. And I think a part of me, like, I think that created spiritual fragmentation, where I became overly reliant upon external authority.
Yeah.
Especially male authorities. Because of patriarchy, I lost touch with my internal sense of my own spiritual intuition, because I relied so heavily upon these external authorities to, you know, receive answers for me. I was taught personal revelation, but only if that was in alignment with what the church taught, then was it okay. And so it's been quite a journey for me as I have deconstructed religion, and I've stepped into this new phase of spirituality, of connecting to that divine feminine essence, and come to find out there's actually a lot to be known about her. A lot. You can very much have access to her, that divine feminine essence. I think patriarchy just doesn't want the feminine to be a part of the system, because that would mean they would lose control.
Yeah.
And I've grieved over that. I have grieved over that time lost of really connecting to that essence within me. I mean, I was taught that I was divine and that I was a daughter of God. I was taught about my roles, how important my roles are as a wife and as a mother, which they are incredibly important. I'm grateful for that, those teachings that I received about the importance of motherhood and the importance of being a wife, but it felt very much like roles to be performed.
Yeah.
And there's so much more to the feminine than that. So much more. And I realized as I was deconstructing, like, I don't need a man to give me permission to have access to the feminine. And because she is a part of me, and I have a right to know God in my body.
Yeah.
I really don't need to look much further than my womb space to connect to the feminine divine within me. So yeah, that played my religion and patriarchy and just my culture at that time was how I formulated my beliefs about any type of feminine divine or essence within me.
And would you say you carried that belief, those views, clear through, like, not just through childhood, teenagers, early motherhood, but until just when you recently, over the last few years, deconstructed religion?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I started like probably, I don't know. I started trying to make more connections with what at that time my language around it was a heavenly mother.
Yeah.
But, you know, anytime I would bring it up, like in religious settings, it felt awkward because it was like something you didn't really talk about because the men said, we don't know that much about her.
Yeah.
Which I've now come to find out is not true.
Well, maybe they don't.
Oh, well, they don't. Or maybe they do, and they just don't want women to know about it because that means they would lose some control and power.
Yeah.
But anyways, reconnecting to that divine within me these past 3-4 years has been such a beautiful journey for me. It's come with some grief.
Yeah. But
it has come with, I think a few episodes ago, you asked me, like, when I was in religion, like, what was I blind to? What was I just unaware of that I just could not see or did not know? And it would be this. My the power that is within the feminine, not in a dominant way, but the innate, ancient wisdom and power within the divine feminine that I've been able to connect to and try to embody. That's what I was unaware to.
Yeah.
Because in religion, you had to go through a man to get your power. It was mediated through men.
Yeah.
And coming to the understanding and the realization and knowing that I don't need a man for that. As far as like my spirituality and connecting to my power and my essence.
Yeah.
It's been a really profound journey for me.
Oh, I bet. And I've been honored to witness it. Thank you. You know, it makes sense actually, if you think about it, that like throughout history, women have been oppressed. I mean, until just in fairly recent, at least U.S. history, women didn't have equal political, economical, societal rights, privileges. We talked about patriarchy a little bit. In the religion we grew up in, at least that we can speak to, the role of women is significantly different than that of men. Right down to, you know, until fairly recently, you know, women being able to do certain things in meetings, speak in certain meetings, or say prayers in certain meetings, or, you know, participate in like executive type, you know, leadership meetings, things like that. It actually now, like where I'm at, it makes perfect sense that like, it's so obvious that it's just a fear-based practice. When at some point men realized, hey, wait a minute, we've got to keep this feminine power in check and under control. And so like you spoke to the way that scriptures were made and how before you know it, like all gods, maybe not all, but especially like, I mean, in Christianity, God is a man. You know, in the religion that we grew up, all the prominent leaders are men. You know, it's like, it seems pretty obvious, like now where I'm at, to see that the power of the feminine has been such a threat to the insecurity and fear of men that they have just made every attempt to stomp it out and squash it.
Yeah. And I don't think, like in religion, I don't think men are doing that in an attempt to like cause harm. I think they really do believe that is the way of God, and it is the way to, maybe not.
I don't know.
It is the way to have structure, to have order. But, yeah, it was a disservice to me, not being able to fully bloom in my feminine.
Yeah.
And honestly, you know, it was a big reason why I stepped away from religion, because I felt like I could not fully bloom into my feminine under a patriarchal order. I just couldn't.
Yeah.
Maybe some women are able to, and I applaud them for that. But I felt very blocked in my growth and my expansion in that type of setting. And also, you know, in referring to the loss of a connection to like a feminine divine, a heavenly mother was the language that I used for a long time. You know, after I had children, I realized like what good mother would birth you and then abandon you and say, I'll just leave it up to your dad. Like, I'll just let him take care of it because I'm much too sacred to be involved in your life. No good, godly mother would do that. any good mother wants to be in the trenches with her children.
Mm-hmm.
That is where I want to be. Through, with it all.
Yeah.
I don't need to be protected from that. So I've grieved that disconnection that I felt from her for so long, and in thinking that I needed a man's permission to be able to access her.
What would you say are some of the factors or things that have disconnected you from your feminine essence?
Yeah, I mean, outside of patriarchy and religion, a huge part of that was purity culture in religion. Purity culture has lasting effects on women. And for me, my body felt like something I needed to manage, not something that I could like go into the depths of and feel into and to explore. There's a lot of internal shame that is created when you are taught that you are responsible for another man's thoughts and thereby his actions. It's almost like they make you the villain in a man's story. And so what comes of that is disembodiment. You have to disembody in order to survive, in order to stay accepted, in order to belong in that culture and that dynamic that you grew up in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think purity culture absolutely had effects on me, and disconnecting from my sensuality, which is a huge part of the feminine essence, of feeling safe in that, feeling safe in my desires. I felt shame and judgment, even just for having a desire there. And I know that, when you teach like sensuality like that to a woman, or sexuality like that to a little girl, of when it's really shame-based, you almost become numb to your own sexuality. You become so disembodied from your sexuality that it's no shock that you are still numb to it when you get married. Because it's a somatic belief in your body that for some they internalize, some don't. But for those who internalize those beliefs, and that it creates shame about their body, that it has lasting effects. I wanted to read a few studies, if I could, about the long-term effects of purity culture. If for those who might be listening who think I don't know what I'm talking about.
That's nobody.
I just want to read from a few studies that, because when I started deconstructing these things and healing from a lot of stuff, I wanted to know more. And I wanted to know, like, what was the science and the data? Like, had this actually been studied, the effects of purity culture on women and girls? And it has.
Yeah.
In one study, they found that purity culture often leads to religious trauma syndrome, long-lasting symptoms like anxiety, guilt, and distrust from rigid religious doctrines. Another study found it lowered autonomy and self-esteem. Individuals internalize shame and feel controlled by moral rules, which can distort self-image and trust in one's own instincts. Another study, research links purity culture with deep sexual shame and emotional disconnection from one's own body, sometimes resulting in sexual dysfunction or genophobia, fear of sex. It can cause marital and relational strain. A study in sociology of religion found that white Christian women who internalized purity norms report higher levels of sexual pain and lower marital satisfaction. Those who don't internalize purity ideals tended toward more fulfilling relationships. a 2022 social work thesis based on the interviews with millennials raised in evangelical purity culture documents pervasive feelings of religious abuse, self-hate, and difficulty trusting personal agency. So the effects are long-lasting.
Yeah.
And that definitely played a role in my connection to my sensuality, my connection to my body, my feminine essence. It disconnected me from my, not only purity culture, but being raised in a religion where you depend and rely so much on external authority. It disconnected me from my intuition, which is the feminine. The feminine is intuition and the ability to have that connection with her inner knowing and her inner essence. That is the feminine. So that played a huge role in my disconnection from my feminine, purity culture, religion, and being disconnected from my spiritual mirror for so long.
You know, Darcy, as you're describing, I went back in my own memory to being, I don't know, preteen, teenager, you know, active Mormon boy, hearing these things that you described around. Yeah, I remember explicitly hearing some leaders talk about like that women or girls dressing immodestly would elicit inappropriate, immoral, and unworthy thoughts and feelings in us boys. And I remember developing the belief that like, yeah, that's their fault. Like that was, I don't know. I don't imagine I'm alone in that, but that I'm just being honest with like, that's what that creates is it's like a finger pointing like to the girls that you are to blame, like you said, for the immoral thoughts of boys if you dress a certain way. And to the boys, it kind of like let us off the hook a little bit. It kind of like said to us, well, that's her fault. She shouldn't be dressing immodestly.
Otherwise, I wouldn't be having these thoughts. When that's a lie, you're going to have those thoughts regardless because you're a male and you should be having those thoughts about that's normal.
Yeah. But,
you know?
Yeah, I just wanted to, give my male masculine take on that. As you were describing that, I was feeling through that and remembering what that was like for me. Having been raised in Mormonism. I can see that.
I think something else that can be potentially damaging and unsafe in these religious settings is, and this isn't coming from like a bitter ex-Mormon. This is coming from a trauma-informed lens. That it's really harmful to assume that just because you have a religious title, you are a safe person. And putting kids in rooms alone with a male leader, we're talking 11, 12-year-old kids, putting them alone in a room with a male leader that they may hardly even know and having them ask very intimate and personal questions about their sexuality, that causes trauma responses in kids. To be exposed to that type of unsafe environment and just to assume that these untrained, unprofessional humans that have this religious title are equipped to be able to know how to handle those conversations appropriately, I think is putting kids in potentially harmful situations. Now, that being said, I know that there are very kind, loving, wise bishops, priests, leaders. I had them, you had them, that were helpful and that helped me along my path. But I think it's just unwise to assume that anyone with a religious title is a safe person.
Yeah. I agree. Well said. So what now, Darcy, how would you define the divine feminine? How would you describe the divine feminine now?
Yeah. Well, I think that it's important before like maybe explaining what the divine feminine is, I would first kind of like to touch on what the divine feminine is not, and to kind of like name adaptations and patterns that I see commonly in women that is preventing them from accessing their feminine. First is the feminine is not the good girl. She is not, her priority should not being liked. It should be being real. The feminine is not meant to suppress anger, is not meant to suppress desire and boundaries. The feminine is not meant to seek approval, especially from men or authority figures. This is a woman caught in a dysregulated fawning state where she might be saying, if I'm sweet, if I'm soft, if I'm quiet, then I'll be accepted. The feminine is not hyper independent. You have these feminists out there who say, I don't need a man. I don't need a man. Well, yeah, you may not need a man, but like, I want a man. I don't want to do this alone. I don't want to carry all the heavy luggage all the time.
Kill the cockroaches, the
Yeah.
spiders. And, we mow the lawn. We're useful.
You are. I don't want to, but you're so much more than that, obviously. But it's not that you can't do those things, it's that you don't want to. You want to share in a life with somebody that you can have these experiences with and share your life with. In a hyper-independent woman, they don't trust others to support or protect them. They reject vulnerability to avoid being hurt. They overwork, they overachieve. They do everything for themselves.
The irony, Darcy, sorry if I may.
Yeah.
It seems to me, you please correct me if I'm wrong, that the extreme feminist view could perhaps, ironically, be in a state of excessive masculine energy.
Yeah.
Right? The
For sure.
hyper independence, the autonomy, the I can do it myself.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need anybody else. Like, it's really interesting, actually.
Yeah.
That, it's a viewpoint or a stance or a belief that opposes men
Mm-hmm.
while standing in the midst of excessive masculine energy.
Mm-hmm.
Is that fair to say? Or?
It is fair to say. I do want to say that these adaptations, these personality traits that we're talking about, these are not flaws. These are survival patterns. These are survival strategies that maybe the feminine has been wounded by the masculine due to trauma, due to there's so many variations that women adapt and then take on these survival strategies. Yeah. And that's why I say embodying the feminine requires you to heal first.
Mm-hmm. And you're right. It's not that, like, in my learning about and understanding this stuff with dealing with masculine and feminine energy and divine feminine, divine masculine, it's not that the woman needs anything from a man. Mm-hmm. It's that when in beautiful concert and dance with the masculine, the feminine is able to rest and relax. And in that state, able to fully give all of her divine gifts. Am I right?
Yeah.
That's how I view it. Like, I don't any longer believe that, like, you need me to, like, be happy, successful, fulfilled. But the whole purpose of relationship is this beautiful synergistic dance between the masculine and feminine that creates this container where both can rise. It's not being a healer to each other, being the one who completes the other, the one who makes the other whole. It's creating this beautiful space where both can rise together and magnify their divine gifts and live this life, this relationship where they are able to practice loving, practice gifting, practice lifting each other, you know, and it's beautiful.
It is such a beautiful, like you said, a beautiful dance in a healthy flow.
Yeah.
With the masculine and feminine.
When you consider your romantic relationship, are you ready to turn your fear into love, your judgment into curiosity, what seems like drudgery and work into play, your attachment into authenticity, your codependence into sovereignty? Are you ready to laugh more, sing and dance more, have mind-blowing sex, the kind where you meet the divine when you make love? Are you ready to connect on a level that you could have never imagined, first to yourself and then to your partner? Are you ready to start living? Are you ready to love and be loved without conditions, without keeping score? Are you ready to be seen and to see your partner? If you answered yes to the above, sign up for our couples retreat, More Than Love, held in a luxurious 7,000 square foot cabin in Bryan Head, Utah, September 19th through the 21st. Having divine union with your partner is not only possible, you deserve it. But it takes work. It takes understanding how and why you've been stuck in unconscious loops and patterns that were created long ago to keep you safe and to protect you, and how all of that protective armor around your heart is now weighing you down. It's preventing you from breathing. It's keeping you playing small. It's preventing connection to your higher self and to your partner. It's time to take off the masks. It's time to put the armor down. It's time to discover your authentic self. It's time to create true safety. Safety for you to be you and for your partner to be them. At this 3-day retreat, you will learn the why behind the loops and patterns that create disconnection from yourself and your partner. How to bring to your conscious awareness why you are the way you are and why your partner is the way they are. How to discover your unconscious wounding and how to heal it. How to effectively handle rupture and repair. How to heal, comfort, hold, and love your inner child. How to integrate your shadow. How to get out of your head and into your body so that you can be present. How to feel safe in your body. How to get good at feeling your feelings and sensations and to understand that they are messengers for you, trying to give you important information. How to progress toward authentic living. How to handle the delicate dance of sovereignty and connection. How to heal your sexuality. How to regulate your nervous system. How to manage your triggers. How to step into your divine masculine and feminine. If you're ready to feel safe to be seen, if you want more than love, this retreat is for you. So click on the link in the show notes to apply.
So in this, the hyper-independent one, you know, their safety comes from if I rely on no one can disappoint me.
Yeah.
So I'll stay safe. The feminine is not the self-sacrificing caretaker. She's not meant to overgive at the cost of abandoning herself. She's not meant to measure her worth by how much service she gives to other people. And she's not meant to disconnect from her personal desires or pleasures or passions. In this fawning, again, it's very common for women to be in a fawning free state. A fawning is like a people-pleasing, self-abandonment state. If I overgive, if I say all the right things, if I stay quiet, then I'll make sure I maintain connection. I stay connected. I'm accepted. Mm-hmm. In this space, the feminine might say, if I meet everyone else's needs, then I'll be loved. Another adaptation is the performer. The feminine is not the performer. In the performer, she adopts her personality to match who she's with to be liked. Or she struggles to access her own authentic identity and truth. Or she shrinks and plays small. And in this state, she might say, I don't know who I am, so I'll be who they want me to be. And again, these are all just, and we can go on, there's several, but I just want to make note that these are not flaws. They are brilliant adaptations that your system creates in order to maintain survival and maintain connection. And so I think if you are wanting to embody more of the feminine, it's important to realize what the feminine is not and what is not you. And what are my survival patterns? What am I doing right now to maintain connection? The feminine is this beautiful, ancient, loving, mystical, deep wisdom. The feminine is the felt sense of feeling in your body before you think. The feminine is magnetic. The feminine radiates. The feminine can be chaotic, just like you mentioned. I loved your analogy of comparing the feminine to the ocean and the depths of the ocean and the waves and her emotional landscape. There's so much beauty in that. The feminine is meant to be expressive and creative and playful and loving. And yes, soft and nurturing, but boundaried. And it's kind of like a lioness, like protecting her cubs. You know, you don't mess with my people, or you will see the lioness come out. A woman in healthy feminine is not afraid to use her voice, no matter what it might shake on the outside of her. A woman in her feminine loves to create devotional love in her romantic relationship. It is that devotional love that she offers in that relationship is her greatest gift. And when she can fully surrender into that space, she becomes magnetic. She is magnetic. An unsurrendered woman will attract an unpresent man. And it's that flow that is needed. A man needs to be present in order for a woman to fully surrender. The divine feminine is earth. It is creation. We literally carry the vortex of creation within our wombs. The womb space is the creation of all consciousness. There is so much depth and power, and you really don't need to look much further than your own body, than your own womb space to connect to that. The feminine doesn't force. She attracts. The most powerful, this is true for men and women, the most powerful person in a room is the most present, is the most grounded, is the most safe in their body. People talk about, so often I hear, especially in business, people talk about strategy and all these things that they need to do outside of themselves in order to build up their business and to build up their image and to make sales. And No, you want to know how a person, anyone, feminine or masculine, builds up abundance, including wealth. They are so potent in their energy that they attract it. They don't have to go searching for it. It comes to find them. And that is very much true about the feminine essence. She attracts just through being magnetic, just through being. A healthy feminine doesn't feel guilt for resting. She follows not only the internal cyclical nature of who she is, but she applies that to everything in her life. Women are cyclical. They are rhythm. They are movement. And when we align as women, when we align not only our inner and our outer worlds with that rhythm, with the cycles, we will feel most aligned and most in flow and most present to life.
That's beautiful. No wonder the masculine is so attracted to the feminine.
Mm-hmm.
Such a beautiful description of what the feminine is and is not. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think that too, the feminine expresses in different ways at different times throughout her life. My feminine expression in my teenage years, in my young mothering years, in my teenage mothering years, and now in my adult mothering years, and now in my life now, like the expression of the feminine can manifest in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we are so quick to label and pathologize and be very stereotypical with the masculine and the feminine. And I think that we shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Because people will say, if you're a career woman, if you have a job, then you're not embodied in your feminine. And that's just not true.
No, it's definitely not true.
You can be fully embodied in your feminine while doing masculine things.
Mm-hmm.
It's how do you feel in your body when you're doing them? Do you feel authentic? Do you feel alive? Do you feel aligned? Do you feel connected to yourself?
Yeah.
And the feminine essence is not, it doesn't mean sameness. It doesn't mean every woman has to be doing the same thing or look the same. You don't have to be a mother to embody the feminine essence. We become very stereotypical and put labels on what the feminine and the masculine is and what it looks like and what it does. And I would just say, how do you feel in your body when you are doing something? Because the feminine is so connected to her body and to her emotions and to her intuition that regardless of what she's doing, if she is present to that connection and feels the depths of her body, she's in her feminine essence. And she is magnetic.
And radiant.
Radiance
is a physical characteristic that emanates from a woman in when she's aligned with her feminine essence.
Mm-hmm. Another beautiful thing of the feminine is receiving. We speak of the womb space, and not only this vortex, this space where the feminine not only creates, but she receives. And a lot of women don't feel safe to receive because of maybe a masculine wound or culture or society or whatever it is that prevents a woman from feeling fully safe to receive. And maybe to help this make more sense, as a woman, if you receive a compliment from somebody, like if somebody says, "You look so beautiful today, I love your shirt," is your response, "Oh, no, I don't. Like, I just barely woke up." You're the one that looks beautiful today. Like, you're deflecting from your own beauty. It might be a sign that you have a hard time receiving. I know it's something I know I've caught myself in. And now when people give me compliments, I just try to say, "Thank you." Thank you, not from a like dominating or like arrogant point, but like just recognizing the landscape of my beauty and feeling safe to receive that.
Own your beauty.
Every woman should.
Own it. For
Yeah,
sure.
but
Own
that-
your gifts. Own your beauty.
Yeah,
I
and
say.
that manifests in so many ways. Not feeling like you need to reciprocate if we're talking like sexually, just being able to receive. And a man loves to give.
I love giving.
I know. You're so good at it.
I love giving. So you just sit back and receive.
Okay. I've become really good at that. But yeah, the women, the feminine is receptivity. She is sensuality. She is intuition. She is emotional landscape and the depth and the mystery of her. So much beauty.
Can I just add, and this is coming from a man, but I think the divine feminine is, and we kind of already touched on this with the ocean comparison, but I think that the feminine, the healthy feminine, is wild and untamed.
Yes. So much wild in that.
Yeah. And that's, by the way, that's extraordinarily attractive to a man in his being aligned in his masculine.
Yeah.
Although it may seem that if you want to, speaking of labels and stereotypes, if you want to label the feminine as dramatic, too much, over emotional, chaotic. But the thing is it's kind of like, we talked in the previous episode about the woman or the feminine being like the ocean. It's as if, if a man tries to like pick and choose what parts he wants, what's allowed, discard what's too much, stamp out what's too much, and not allow the chaotic, wild, untamed feminine to just be like the ocean. It's as if you're taking a section of the ocean and making it into a nice, tidy little swimming pool.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. It's safer, maybe. Not so much ups and downs and unpredictability and, but not nearly as beautiful, not nearly as vast and deep. And, I think it's just important to note that, it's a beautiful, beautiful part of the feminine.
It is. And we don't want to be tamed.
No.
We want our fullest expression out there in the world.
Yeah.
And we want a safe container to be able to express that in. Energetically, the feminine is the yin to the yang. She is the life force of love. And when the masculine can create that container, that shell for her to fully bloom and blossom in, she fills that space with beauty, with love, with tenderness, with softness. Not to be mistaken though with, the good girl like we spoke of, or, the feminine is boundaried. The feminine can rage, feels anger, uses her voice as she should. That is maybe what is deemed like the wild in women. But the feminine, she doesn't attract, or she attracts, she doesn't force.
Yeah.
She feels deeply, and she expands through surrender, not submission.
Darcy, how do you talk about embodying the feminine. What does that mean exactly? How do you embody the feminine and live it?
Well, I think it requires healing, like we spoke about. Deep somatic healing of unbecoming what you are not. Because the feminine essence isn't something that you go out searching for. It's not something that you work to obtain. It's within you.
Mm.
It is you. It is your essence. It's peeling away all the things that you are not so that you can create space within yourself to receive, to create, to be able to give and receive more love. I think as a woman, especially if you are a woman who lives a lot in your head, I think a great place to start to just start decluttering literally your digital and your physical spaces around you. You know, start unfollowing people that don't align with you, that aren't your people. Delete contacts. Go through your emails. Like, start with maybe deleting and creating like digital space.
You delete your emails so effectively. I just have to say.
How many emails do you have in your in folder right now? Tell me.
Oh my gosh, this is embarrassing. Oh, you know what? It's not keeping tabs anymore for some reason. It only says 5,277, but it's it's like 50,000. I don't know why it's saying that. I mean, I just don't look at them.
That's fine. This is no judgment. I'm just trying to say, I mean, sometimes I've looked at like our kids' phones, and I think one time there was like 300 misread text messages.
I think that's awesome.
It's amazing. But I'm like,
they're not like tied to it. They're not like having to reply immediately. And
I'm not judging it. I'm just saying, make space.
Yeah.
If you need to create digital
Sorry,
space.
I just had to interject.
Okay.
One of your talents is to delete emails so fast.
I know. That's because I'm just like, I don't know. I'm just wanting this space right now, I guess. And then maybe create physical space. Like, clear out spaces in your home. Takes several. You know what me? I love getting rid of stuff.
Yeah.
I love going to the DI, and we still have a lot of stuff. It seems, but maybe start creating space that way. Sometimes it's hard for me as I'm working with women and I'm trying to teach them the language of the body. I have to like meet them at where they're at, and if there's somebody that's really up in their headspace, then I try to meet them in that. Okay, well, where can we create space in your external world? And then let's work on creating space in your internal world. And so I would say start with that, and then work on creating space internally, which means you learn how to do emotional processing. You learn first that it's okay to feel emotion. That is part of one of your gifts as the feminine, is to feel deeply. And, you know, no spiritual bypassing, no judging what you're feeling. Just feel your emotions. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It doesn't make you a bad person. You're meant to feel all the emotions out there. They're just teachers. So learn how to be connected to your emotions and to feel them and to process them throughout your body. I would say to start connecting deeply with your intuition and to start trusting yourself. And it's really hard to connect to your intuition when you're living in a dysregulated state, because your emotions are running your life and you're living in hypervigilance or fight or flight. And it's really hard to connect to your intuition when you're living in chronic dysregulation. So do nervous system work of helping you to feel regulated and present. I would say program rest into your life. The feminine is cyclical. She's meant to rest and not feel guilt for resting. Her body needs it. And I would say just start doing practices and rituals where you learn how to not only self-regulate, but co-regulate, and how to be deeply anchored in your body. I have rituals and practices that I do every day to where that helps me stay connected to my feminine, connected to my body, connected to my emotions. The feminine really thrives in ritual. It's a space for her to connect to her essence, to her truth, to her safety. So I would say work on creating ritual. That could be anything, taking a warm bath. You know, I just want to say, this is how good you are and how sweet you are. But a couple weeks ago, you had drawn a bath for me and you had poured rose petals in the bath. And then you just created a space for me to do some meditating. And then you gave me a massage and you just allowed me to fully receive in that moment. And it was so beautiful and so needed. And so I thank you for that.
My pleasure.
But I think it's important for women to create rituals where they can connect to that part of them, whether it's through a warm bath or a walk or music or something daily that helps you connect to your body, to your essence. Dancing. Yes. Dancing is a big part of the feminine.
I know.
I suck at it, but I really love it.
I love it when you dance.
Clog?
Yeah, sure.
You know
Any
what?
kind of dancing.
Our family is very musically talented.
Yeah.
And you know what I do?
You clog.
I clog. Okay?
Actually, you just talk about it. You never actually do it. So it's time to actually do it.
Listen, I'm a great clogger.
Yeah,
I'm glad I can provide
I
that
believe it.
gift for you all. But anyways, yeah, I would start with those things. Rituals, embodiment, becoming connected to your authentic self. Practice using your voice without fear. You know, become magnetic and the life that is meant for you will come to you. You don't have to force it.
Yeah.
Feminine essence is just being.
Yeah, I think that's a really great, just being. That's, I think, one of the greatest mistakes that we, both the masculine and the feminine, make in relationship especially, is believing and thinking that it's about more doing.
Yeah.
It's not. It's about more being.
Change your state, change your story.
Yeah.
I always say.
Yeah. It really is about regulating your nervous system, healing so that you feel comfortable in your body. You can connect to your body. You can connect to your breath. You can easily find presence and grounding. It's not about having to do. It's about being.
Yeah, becoming fully embodied in that magnetism. You know, an embodied woman is very hard to control. And that scares the shit out of men. Especially men who want to control.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just wanted to read a song, the words to a song that I've really, really love and have connected to. And I'm finding it here on my phone real fast. But as I've looked back on like my journey up until now and all the different versions of me and all my different phases and all of my different expressions, and I'm humbled by the bones that I now stand in that have made me who I am now. All these different versions of me and my woundings and my traumas and my joys, the beauty and the gift and the absolute magic of being a mother, of being able to carry and hold within me another human being. What a gift that is for women. And speaking of power and the power of a woman, I mean, we have a portal between our legs. That is where our power is. So powerful. And anyway, so I'd love to read the words.
Why don't you sing it?
Because I don't sing.
Okay.
You know that.
We'll settle for your reading.
Okay. These are the words of Emery Hall entitled, I Have Been 1,000 Different Women. She says, make peace with all the women you once were. Lay flowers at their feet. Offer them incense and honey and forgiveness. Honor them and give them your silence. Listen, bless them, and let them be. For they are the bones of the temple you sit in now. For they are the rivers of wisdom heading you toward the sea. I have been 1,000 different women.
So beautiful.
I love that so much and resonate with those words so deeply in reflecting on all the different versions of me and honoring them and loving them and seeing how they have led me to where I am now. And I'm incredibly grateful.
Thank you so much, Darcy. I also honor and revere every version of you. So grateful for you. Thank you for sharing your insights, your wisdom, your experiences. Thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for your love. I love you.
I love you.
Free to be me, free to sing, sweet feathers envelop me like a hug, whispering melodies.
The Safe to Be Seen podcast is intended for educational and entertainment purposes only. Darcy and Brandon Burke do not claim to be experts. We have no intention to defend our beliefs or impose them onto others. This podcast provides a space to allow for us to share with others what it's like to be us. We desire to share our human journey with others. We advise you to seek professional counsel, therapy, and/or treatment from trained, credentialed, and certified professionals for any emotional, mental, and/or physical conditions you may be experiencing.